What it do, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I wanted to continue on with this kind of overview of my makeup collection in preparation for my declutter series, which comes up at the end of the year, and it always comes up so fast, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to declutter? I don't know what I want to get rid of. So I love doing this last month for my bronzers, and I figured another category which I definitely need to kind of get real with myself on is my blushes. So I'm going to show you guys both my powder and my cream blush collection, which it's quite big, and we're gonna do aerial swatches as I did with my bronzers, and this is just so that I have that kind of collection video. I have that capsule video that'll tell me how many blushes or the types of blushes that I have right now, but also I found that it reminded me of, for my bronzers last month, some of the bronzers that I didn't know I had, some of the bronzers that I was surprised I still had, etc, etc. So this is just a video that I hope is helpful for you guys, but also helpful for me. Hopefully the swatches are really nice so that in case you are interested in one particular product, you can see what it looks like on my skin tone, especially if I am of a similar skin tone to you. And if you're wondering what's going on with my face, I have done a full face of new makeup to create this, and this was a recent upload. I will have it listed and linked down below, as I will definitely have this video up before definitely have that video up before I have this video up. But with that said, I'm not going to talk too much because I'm sure this is going to be a long video. Let's just dive on in. Alrighty guys, so it has been about a month since I did my last kind of full swatching of a collection video. And I really wanted to keep at minimum doing the very favorite cheek area first, because I feel like this is the collection where sometimes I bring in so many products so quickly that I forget how they apply on my skin, how I enjoy or maybe don't enjoy certain formulas, and even just sitting down here and swatching them very quickly and kind of talking you guys through each formula, each color was very helpful for me in the bronzer video. So I want to make sure I get at least 2 more videos in this kind of video style up before my declutters in December. So this month I am going to be squeezing in my blush swatching, and then next month I will be squeezing in my highlighter swatching. I may go ahead and pre-film some of the other collections, major collections in my beauty makeup collection. That way you guys can see kind of all of the products prior to the declutter, but I will still be doing declutters in December, so you'll still see them all. It just won't be as thorough, like swatching and everything, as these videos are. So I don't want to talk too much because I know I've already talked in the intro, and now I just kind of went through that little spiel just now. I'm going to do it exactly how I did my bronzer. So I'm going to do one formulation type at a time. So I'm going to start with powders first, and then I'm going to go into any form of non-powder, whether that's cream, liquid, anything else outside of powder is going to be my last section. So if I can remember, I will go ahead and give you guys timestamps down below. I will not be linking everything because I have that many products. I'm sorry. But 9 times out of 10, I've done full reviews from these products. And if you want to support me and you want a specific link from me, just go ahead and comment down below. I know I've been terrible at answering comments, but I will do my absolute best to get you that link. Otherwise, no big deal. I hope that I tell you all of the formula or brand and of course the name so that you can research it for yourself. So let me just go ahead and get all of my powders here so that you guys can see them, and we'll start swatching and talking about what may still be in my collection in 2025 and what may be getting decluttered, and friends and family can have first dibs at the end of this year. Alrighty, so first things first is my Alamar Cheek Trio, and this is in the shade Dark Rich. Now, most of my cheek trios are actually not in this video, but some that are specifically all blush, I did make sure to have a point to have in my actual blush drawer. This is quite an old blush trio, and unfortunately this brand is really not very popular, but what I will say is this formula is actually really good. All three shades actually work on my skin tone. I prefer the two darker shades. This lighter shade, to me, it has a bit too much sheen and not enough pigment, and I find that the sheen to pigment ratio for me is just not preferred. But overall, all three shades definitely do work on my skin tone, and I definitely think that this range can work for darker skins as well. It's not as though I'm the darkest skin person that can enjoy this palette. So there is the shade Duosa. This is the shade Twin Flames. And then this is the shade Divine Wine. This is quite an old trio in my collection, so this is definitely something that, from the perspective of just having it for a very long time, could potentially be decluttered. It's not something that I reach for a lot, and I do have similar colors in my collection from brands that I prefer now. So there's a lot of kind of possibilities for this to potentially be decluttered, but this is not one of those products that I know right off the bat I've got to get rid of because I hate for some reason or something like that. Next, I believe, is one of my most expensive products in my collection, and actually one of the smallest products in my collection, and this is a Chantecaille blush. So this is in the shade Laughter. I picked this up quite a few years ago. That's why the packaging is so kind of dusty and stuff. It's just been worn, but I use this a lot, and although it does not look like it will do anything on my skin tone, it's a beautiful blush. It has great pigmentation, great payoff, and it looks beautiful on my skin. This is actually a shade that I would prefer over that Alamar one. It's just so beautiful. It does not have a glowy finish like I tend to reach for now, but it has like a kind of a little bit more life than a matte finish, and for that I have enjoyed it throughout my time of it being in my collection. I think I would love to kind of upgrade this packaging because I'm pretty sure I can pop out the actual blush, but this is definitely going to be one of those things that I'm probably going to always keep in my collection. I love it to death, and yeah, I'm pretty sure I can pop it out because that's why the hole is there, because I can get like a new pan, but honestly it's the compact that I would want to change, not necessarily the pan. But anyways, really good formula. Like I said, this is in the shade Laughter, and this is their Coral. I don't know if you can get this particular shade. I want to say I got this for like a limited edition, kind of helping the animals situation, but yeah, always good to try if you're really interested in this. Next, I have two Chantecaille, or not Chantecaille, I have two Charlotte Tilbury blushes. The first one is Love is the Drug, and the second one is Walk of No Shame. So I don't find that these kind of boob blushes really work very well for my skin tone. Maybe it's just the way that I like to see blush. I do like a very pigmented quantity of blush, so maybe that's the situation. But I was really interested in these shades, and I felt like out of the collection at the time when I was really looking into her brand, specifically these formulas, these were the two that really were kind of supposed to work for my skin tone. So like I said, this is Love is a Drug, and when I would reach for this more often, I would really focus my brush on that middle shade and kind of lightly get some of that outer shade. It really gave a slightly more vibrant pinky tone than I would have other got. So you see how this is a lot more pinky than this Coral, and it kind of, once again, it's just like these two mixed together would give me that Alamar. And then this is Walk of No Shame, which I have this formula, or not this formula, I have that shade in quite a few formulas from her, and kind of opposite of how I did this one, I would try to focus a lot for that mauve tone because that would actually show up more, whereas the middle tone has a lot more of the shimmer. So I unfortunately swatched it backwards this time, but let me get some more of that and then do another swatch. It may not be super noticeable in the swatch, but I will say in person, I felt like it did work decently well on my skin tone. So these are the two Charlotte Tilbury ones. Are these blushes that I actually reach for or even really think about? No, but I do kind of plan to potentially do a kind of full face or deep dive into Charlotte Tilbury in the future. And so I may keep these in my collection until after that video is filmed, and then see kind of if this is something that I want to keep long term. May not be, who knows, but these are my two Charlotte Tilbury blushes. Next, we have Colored Rain. Colored Rain, I don't think has a lot of powder blushes in their collection. And at one point, I think they were strictly doing powder. Then they kind of went to creams. So I have one duo from them, and this is from their Power collaboration. And this is called The Shots. This is a beautiful, beautiful blush. So not only do I love it because it has two different types of formulas here, it has one that's slightly more matte, and then it has one that's slightly more shimmery. But of course, both of the tones work beautifully on my skin tone. I can use this more shimmery tone as like a light blush topper, or if I build it up and kind of really concentrate it, it can actually be a highlighter, whereas the powder can be more of a blush. So I really like this blush formula. I've had this once again for quite some time, and I won't sit here and lie to you that I've been really thinking about this. I haven't. And Colored Rain is not one of those formulas or the brands that I really review a lot lately. They just don't have a lot coming out that I'm personally interested in. So all of that might be taken into consideration for my declutter, especially because I know this is a formula that I know some of my friends who are significantly darker than me and even significantly lighter can both use. And so, yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but this is a really good formula. If they have any of these duos, I would actually recommend them. Next, we have a blush from Dior. I believe I picked this up earlier this year and actually reviewed it earlier this year. I don't distinctly remember why I was so interested in this blush, but I was. And so obviously I picked her up. And this is in the shade Splendid Rose. This is a satin formulation. And this is like a kind of neutral mauve pinky situation. It's kind of all of the things, right? Let me just do another swatch so that you guys can really see it. Make sure my camera focuses. So it's another one of these like neutrally pinky tones. It's being quite washed out actually on camera. I will say that in person, it's a lot more pigmented and a lot more presentable on my skin. I do know that I actually enjoy this formula. It's quite pigmented, it's blendable, and like I said, it shows up better in person. I don't know why it's showing a little bit more kind of washed out on camera right now, both the pan and also the swatch, but it's actually quite vibrant, and I do, well, not vibrant, but visible on my skin, that so I do really enjoy this formula. It's just I honestly don't reach for powder blushes very often anymore, and so that will be honestly the biggest factor in how many of these products I keep. I just really think I only need the best of the best in these formulas, and then outside of that I can really just give the rest of them away, because I really just don't need this much powder when I really strictly reach for creams and sometimes forget to apply a powder on top. I believe the next product to talk about or brand would be from Give Me Glow, and this is my one singular blush that I picked up from them when I did kind of a review of the brand a couple of years ago, if not last year. And this is in the shade Hey Honey. I was just so fascinated in this mustardy tone. If you don't know, if it's a mustardy tone, I will reach for it. I absolutely love it. Once again, this mustard is really not showing very true to its depth. It's a lot more mustardy, quite dark. Maybe it's the background color and it throws things off. So I'll consider that when I do my declutters in a couple of months. But anyways, This is a great formula. It's actually quite pigmented and it is blendable. What I will say though is I have to build this up quite a lot to get what I want. Once again, I think it has just a little bit too much white base to it for it to be as kind of, I guess you could say, pigmented as I would love, love, love. You know what I mean? But otherwise, great formula, great product. We'll see if it stays. So technically, I think we'll go with Glam Light being next, even though because Give is spelled so weird. So this is my one Glam Light blush product right now. I know that I have another blush on the way. But anyways, this is the Glam Light Scooby-Doo duo. This is Daphne and Velma's duo. I absolutely fell in love with this duo when I picked it up, not only because it was such unique colors, but because they really worked on my skin tone. This was the first kind of white based pink that I found that I actually enjoyed, and this is a unique kind of tomato pink that works for me as well. So this is definitely one of the blushes that I think will definitely stay in my collection. I have such fond memories of it, and it's so unique in color and tone for me that I think it will, when I want these colors in a powder, be the ones that I reach for. Keeping it going, the Give, I have one blush duo from them, and this again is another very unique color. This is Feelin' Cheeky, I think. No, that's the formula name. It's Honeymoon Phase. And this is a unique shade, but also a very interesting formula. So this is a creamy formula, although it could be considered dry depending on the formula that you're comparing it to. Here, it's really strictly focusing on these purples where you get two different kind of hues of purple. This is a quite light ashy kind of icy lavender, and this is the shimmerier tone, and then this one is a darker, deeper kind of mauve tone, and that's the more matte formulation. I like that you get two different formulas here. I like that you get two different kind of drastic shades. So if you're somebody who really likes to mix, you can get something in between. If you're somebody who likes one shade or the other, depending on the undertone that you're reaching for the overall makeup look, you have it kind of all in this one compact. I do know a lot of people really went crazy for the formula, and although I think the formula is fine, I don't think it's something personally that I need to go crazy for, so I will not be kind of collecting the rest of this shade range personally. But that said, I don't think that this is something, once again, that I strictly need to get rid of, specifically for how unique that shade is for my skin tone, but also the shade undertones that is available in this duo. A formula that I do really, really enjoy, and because the packaging is so kind of glassy, it's a little bit hard to get my camera to focus, is House Labs. So I have two different formulas, or two different shades, one in Lavender Bloom, and then the other one is in Watermelon Bliss. So this will be really interesting because I just said that like the other formula was really unique and also the shade was unique. So I'll be interested to see how it compares to the Give shades. But this is a very kind of creamy formula, very, very pigmented. I know that they unfortunately redid this range where it's smaller, same price, all of that jazz. But in my view, these are all three different shades, so they're all kind of warranted in my collection. This Watermelon Bliss shade is so unique that it will always be in my collection. It's a lot more vibrant strawberry kind of watermelon than the duo from Glam Light. And so yeah, these are just two shades that I will always continue to keep. I had intended to get the whole range prior to them redoing the range, and I definitely think I still will. I'm just gonna wait till it goes on sale because like I said, I really don't reach for blush formulas a lot, but this is a really, really good blush formula, and I have seen these go on 50% off before, so I will probably wait until it does that. Next, I believe, is Juvia's Place. So Juvia's Place, I have two kind of different range blushes available. This is very early on, and I think the shade is Afrique. No, I think the shade is Bella actually. And this is a kind of, interesting tomato-y red kind of. And this is in their latest range where I have volume 1, which I believe is the darkest of the blush duos available. So I'll go ahead and swatch all three. The latest range is a lot drier than the oldest range was. That said, they're all very pigmented, they're all very blendable, all once again interesting formulas. Are these formulas or shades that I think I have to keep in my collection? I don't think so. I think that once again, Juvia's Place is just not one of those brands that I review a lot anymore. I did just recently do a kind of review in comparison with them quite a bit earlier this year for Black History Month. I do think that this is one of those easy brands that you can really reach for to showcase during that month. But that said, outside of Black History Month, I really don't find myself gravitating towards their products. And once again, this is going to be really informative moving forward into my 2024 declutter. I really think that this year I'm going to be more proactive in decluttering certain things that I've been holding on for long periods of time that I really just don't use. And there's no reason to keep them. Next, I believe, is Lawless, and this is the singular product and blush that I have from this brand, and this is in their watermelon shade. So a lot of people were really boasting about how great this formula was, and on line this looked like a shade that could work for me. It looked very reminiscent to other watermelon type colors that I've already showed you guys to date in this video, and it just doesn't, in my opinion, do it. It's just very a thin formula, and because it's so thin, it takes a lot to build up. And once I've built it up, I find that the sheen just overpowers the color, and it's not for me personally. I think it works easier for those who are of a lighter skin tone and don't necessarily need as much pigment overall, but just for me, it's just not a preferred. That said, I believe I have had a cream from them in the past, and I decluttered that because it was worse. I would say between the two formulas, this is the better formula. So take that information into advisement if you've tried this or if you tried that one and you want to know the difference between the two. We are chugging right along, and now we are in M's. These are once again some older formulas, but these are super unique formulas that I think will always be hard for me to let go of personally. So this is the MAC Extra Dimension shade in Rosy Cheeks, and this is the MAC Mineralized Blush and Flirting with Danger. So these are actually both really good formulas, great pigmentation, great colors for my skin tone. And yeah, I really don't have anything bad to say. If you've been on my channel for a really long time, you know that I have gotten a lot of use out of both formulas. Have I been reaching for them necessarily as much as I did before in the past? No, but that's because in the past I was strictly a powder girly. So these were some of my top formulas, whereas now I'm a lot more of a cream girly. Like I said, I don't think I'll ever really get rid of these until they necessarily don't work anymore. And honestly, I don't see that really happening. So really love these products. I would recommend them if these shades are still available / these formulas are still available. Next are the two holdouts from my extremely big NARS collection that I had. I think coming into 2024, I had a lot more blushes from NARS, and I decluttered it down to just these two. And to be fair, I think this is the last kind of roundabout for these two. These were really good blushes. I absolutely loved them when I picked them up, and I think I got, enough use out of them when I picked them up. But these are just not formulas that I really reach for anymore. And if I want these shades, I have, I think, other formulas that I want to reach for that I would do before these, even strictly thinking about powders. So this is the NARS Pierre Hardy collaboration, and this is Boys Don't Cry. And this is so old that it's like extremely sticky now, which means like it's a really old NARS formula. And this is this is Libre, which means Taj Mahal is missing. Where's Taj Mahal? Let me see if I can find it. There it is. Here's Taj Mahal. So I actually still have 3 formulas. This Taj Mahal is actually in my project pan. This is like a shimmery blush that a lot of people used to recommend to people of color. This is a limited edition blush, and this was kind of my neutral blush for a minute. As you can see, this has the most dent, and this was actually in a project pan, I want to say 2 years ago, and I was significantly actually using it. So let's go ahead and swatch all of these. And like I said, I think all of these formulas are really good. And I think overall, if you're somebody who's new to makeup, new to blush, and you want to know a strong brand to start with, I definitely think NARS is a good brand to start with. But do know, when it comes to blushes, let alone NARS blushes, these take years to really get your money's worth by panning / completely finishing. So if you're somebody who wants to kind of finish your makeup, just know that it's going to take years of dedicated use specifically to this, especially if you're not a daily makeup wearer, before you actually get to that point of feeling like you finished or you got your money's worth. I hope that makes sense. Most likely all of these are just going to be thrown in the trash because they're that old. But I kind of knew even going into this swatch video that that was my mindset for these blushes. I kind of already just knew that it was time to let these go. And to be frank, I'm pretty sure I've had those the same amount of time, if not slightly a month or 2 more than the MAC, but I really don't see me letting the MAC go because those finishes are closer to what I love now than, and you know, long term, I think those finishes will work overall, whereas the NARS ones are all kind of matte, or just not a shimmer that I particularly want. Okay, we are at O, and O means Odin's Eye. So I have quite a few blushes from them. I think I got 2 from 2 different collections. And so that's what we're kind of seeing here. So this one is from their first collection, which is Orange Sunny. This one is from that same collection, which is Peach Gleam. Then we have from this year's collection, Solar Eclipse. And lastly, we have Lilac Mist. So this is all the same formula, except for this has a different finish. This one right here, which is a more shimmery finish. These all have a, I would say, matte finish, not flat matte, but a matte finish nonetheless. This has shimmer in it, but it's not like enough that it's really all that impactful in my opinion. And you will see there is a difference between these two. And yeah, let's just go ahead and swatch them. Okay, so if you're wondering between the first 2, like the first collection, which of the oranges I would recommend, I do think that the Gleam one, the Peach Gleam is more impactful on darker skin, whereas the other one just blends in a little bit more. So depending on what you're looking for, know that. This Lilac Mist one is really unique in my opinion. It is a little bit more lilac-y than pinky, so I really like that. And this Glimmery one, I do find I will probably actually ultimately have this in my highlighter collection, but they do consider it a blush. It is extremely pigmented, and there is 2 different tones here. So if you are somebody who likes to get kind of your full money's worth, you could use them as 2 different tones and mix together. Overall, this is definitely a formula or a range that I will be keeping. They're a brand that I still overall do review quite often, even though they don't release all that much as they did before. Next, we have a standalone blush from Prados, and this I think is the shade name, which is Sagrado. This is a really beautiful blush. Oh, actually, no, it's No Pos Wow blush. I know this was a collaboration, and I actually intended to get something from the collaborator because they're an artist. I wanted to get something from them. I just forgot to go back to the site. This is such a vibrant, pigmented, unique tone. This is definitely going to stay in my collection. This is pretty much like electric neon lime orange, neon orange. It's such a unique tone and so pigmented. So that's why I wanted more shades in the formula. I just never honestly got around to it, but this is a great blush, and this is a newer blush for me. So between that and the unique shade and all that jazz, I will definitely go ahead and keep this in my collection. Next, Pat McGrath. So I have 3 different products. This is technically a face palette, but I do actually reach for this more for the blushes than the highlighter in here. Or this might be the one that actually has a bronzer in there too. I don't remember actually. And these 2 are blushes. So this one is Cosmic Coral, and this is one of the duos. And this is Night Bloom, which is also one of the duos. I just felt like the duos gave you more bang for your buck. You got more shades, and overall it just gave you more unique shades than what I had in my collection. So that's why I gravitated towards this range compared to the other range. And this is a limited edition face palette in Amber Allure. I think looking at the back, this is the one that has, yeah, the 2 blushes. So that's why it's in my blush drawer. I usually will just put my blush brush in both shades, so that's how I'm gonna swatch them for you guys. But of course, if you want to get more bang out of your buck, or if you're more interested in one shade overall, you can definitely go ahead and singularly use these 2 as, you know, 2 different blushes. So definitely, I would say this Night Bloom gets the most unique tone. That lavender and that red are really just a unique combination, which I think is just something I won't get outside of that particular formula. As far as this face palette, I absolutely love this middle shade. It's so nice. Paradise Venus. It's such a beautiful nude that I think is just something you would not think would work on the skin, but it shows up so beautifully on the skin. I absolutely love it. I love this face palette. I love reaching for all of these shades. Honestly, Pat McGrath, I think, does no wrong when it comes to her cheek formulas. It's really her eyeshadows that have just gotten really boring and just tedious. Anyways, keeping it going. Shroud Cosmetics recently dived into cheek products, specifically these highlighters, and I decided, you know, I wanted to give them a go. I do believe they had one other highlight or one other blush that I decided not to pick up because I knew it just would not work for me. So this one is Kiss of Twilight. Then we have Honeyed Mirage. I think it's Mirage. And ooh, can we not? And then the last one is Sunset Sorbet. So I definitely remember this Sunset Sorbet and this one were my favorite. They were the more unique tones, but I get used out of all of these. This is definitely a creamier formula in a time where I feel like a lot of these powder formulations are not necessarily creamy. As they were before. They're a lot more focused on that pigment, whereas these are both creamy and pigmented. They're also blendable. They're just overall a really good formula. But if you're somebody of my skin tone and you have my similar preferences, I would say these 2 are the ones that you should look closer to. If you want only one shade, I would definitely say the more sunset one is the better. But definitely a good formula. And I'm happy that I picked them up. And if I remember serves me correctly, I also got a highlighter from this range as well. But, you know, that's for another day. So yeah, really, really nice. And yeah, not a formula that I think is a must-have out of all of these formulas, but I definitely do think it is a good formula nonetheless. Last formula really quickly in the S's is Sigma Beauty. So I did do a deep dive into Sigma Beauty before I kind of officially named them deep dives, I think last year. And yeah, I got this blush, and this is in the shade Bronze Star. Once again, a very unique tone, a unique shade, but it works. It actually does work. It comes off as very much a nude, but a very unique nude. I do like it. Honestly, I like Sigma's formulas. Their formulas are very creamy, pigmented. They're not something I would say that's like something that most people are going to say they need to really rave about. But what I would say is these are very much the steadfast formulas. These are the formulas that you know are going to work come hell or high water, you know? So really, really nice formula here. And yeah, I would recommend it, especially if you can find a shade that you really, really like or that's unique for you. All right, we got 3 different brands left, and then we're done with the powders. Are you exhausted? I'm exhausted. Let's keep going. So Unearthly Cosmetics, unfortunately, if I remember searching correctly, these are single pans that they gave me like these compacts for. Well, they didn't give me, I like purchased the compacts for, and so I don't know the shade names. Sorry about that, but I guess I just didn't think to pull the names off the back of the shades, and I don't see an easy kind of thing for me to be able to pop the pans out really quickly to show you guys. Let me see if I can find something really quick. Hold on. Let's see if I can make this a fully encompassing video. Yeah, I don't see anything I can do that with, sorry. But yeah, so this is a more nudie blush, and this is again in that tomato orangey kind of range. I think this is a good formula. Is this a formula that I think, you know, I would say once again is top tier? No, this is a pretty matte formula. There is a slight kind of give to the matte, but it is closer to matte than shimmery, I would say, or even like a satin formula. Not bad, not the worst, you know, or not the greatest. Yeah, nothing really more to say, honestly, when it comes to that formula. For some reason, I thought I really needed to have a Valentino blush, so I did pick one of these up, and this is in the shade 5. And once again, this is in this like blood tomato orangey type tone. And this is such a beautiful formula though. I mean, beautiful formula. It feels kind of creamy compared to most blush formulas. It is very, very pigmented. I would say great blendability. Such a unique formula. And maybe because a lot of people were raving about the formula at the time, I decided to pick it up during a sale or something. I really don't remember the reason why and like when I picked this up, but I will say this is a really good formula. I will say that. And then last formulation to talk about, I actually doubled up last year right around this time during the Beautylish gift card event, and this is Wayne Goss. So I picked up Vivid Azalea last year, and previously I had Bright Poppy. I don't know what I was saying just now. These are both really, really good formulas. These are, as you can see, face palettes, but I do tend to reach for them for the blush. And since I already have it open, I will then use the highlighter. So I'll go ahead and swatch both formulas in the palettes, but know that that's why they're in kind of this blush drawer. Really, really good formulas. I mean, steadfast formulas. Again, pigmented, blendable, effortless to work on a variety of different skin types, skin tones. I really love them. And yeah, nothing really else to say. I would definitely highly recommend this formula as well. Alrighty, so first cream blush, we're gonna go ahead and talk about this one from About Face. This is one that I recently reviewed, and this is in the shade Big O. I think this is a really fantastic formula personally. It's extremely pigmented, blendable. It applies very easily in my opinion, and it's a very quick dry down, and already feels like a powder. Really great formula. Very easily blendable. I would highly recommend it. And I think this is a great formula to start off with if you are not cream color friendly, or you think you're not cream color friendly, I would definitely recommend a formula similar to this because it's easy for you to pick it up. It is very pigmented though, so if you are of a lighter skin tone, less is more with that one. ABH came out with a cream formula a couple of years ago, and this is in the shade Peach Caramel. This was my go-to at the time for a kind of neutral blush. It looks like it's pretty much a brown, so it looks like it would not work on my skin tone, but there's enough pink here that when it's applied to the cheeks, it gives a very subtle blush tone and tint. I used to love reaching for this. No real rhyme or reason why I'm not reaching for it right now, other than I do prefer reaching for creams that are in compacts such as this rather than sticks. But that said, I do have quite a few favorite stick formulas that, you know, I will definitely continue to use and keep in my collection long term. So really beautiful shade right there, and great formula if I did not say. Next, I believe, is my Singular Charlotte Tilbury Cream. And honestly, this is in my project pan. I'm hoping that I can go ahead and use what's left of this product prior to the end of this year, as long as I bloody remember to reach for it. And this is the Charlotte Tilbury Matte Beauty Blush 1 in the shade Dream Pop. For me, I just am not a huge fan of this formula. I am not a huge fan of this application system. Just nothing about this is great in my opinion. Is the shade pretty? Yes, it's a very pretty shade. I think once it's on the skin and blended out, it really looks great. I don't have an issue with it. I'm just not in love with this formula, and so that's why I kind of have it in that project pan. I want to get my money's worth. This is not a cheap formula. So yeah, that's pretty much the long and the short of that one. Next, I have two different formulas from Danessa Myricks. So the first formula that I got from her was these color fixes. These are one of her oldest formulas that she came out with to really start her brand, and then more recently she came out with this kind of formula here. So let's start off with the color fixes. These are all in her matte finish. She does have a variety of different finishes with these. So this one is Carrot Top. I believe this is Primary Yellow, yep. And then this one is Rustic. Then I have in her Yummy Skin formula, Golden Hour and the shade Jubilee. What I will say is that I'm pretty sure these, it's time for them to go. They're quite old. I mean, very, very old. I got so much use out of them, but these are also some products that like, they will be still in the tube. You'll still have enough product before you die. There's just so little product that you have to use with these. I will go ahead and swatch them, but just know that honestly, I don't think I ever really thought that I would get through these before they expired. And it's already hard for me to get the product out. It used to be very easy. So that tells me that this product is definitely dried out. And these are some more products that are just going to have to be thrown away. I used to actually use all three of these as blushes, and I definitely think there's room for that, but you can use these products for anything on the face. That's what I love about her brand. She really makes everything kind of very customizable to whatever you want. So I'm just going to swatch these very quickly. These are very, very terrible swatches, I'm not going to lie, but you get the gist of those colors there with those three swatches there. And then these are the formulas that I think she's most known for now when it comes to cream blushes. And these are really good in my opinion. I really like them. I would have more, but I'm trying not to be that person that constantly has like full collections of things. But then again, if you love a formula, why not have the full collection? So these are really, really nice. I do reach for these, and because this is in the type of delivery system that I prefer, I tend to reach for these over the color fixes, even when, you know, the color fixes were ones that I was reaching for every day. So really, really like these. Like I said, these are definitely going to go in December. I already kind of knew that going in, and I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. Let's see how much more I can fill up on my arm before I need to clean her off. Let's talk about this e.l.f. Putty. Let's talk about this e.l.f. Putty blush really quickly. I have this in shade Caribbean Caribbean, that's it. And this was so interesting because I had this in the bronzer and the blush, and for whatever reason, finish wise, I only liked it in the blush. It's a really beautiful blush, very simple, you know, very common color, but the formula is just really good. I mean, it's pretty much a matte to powder finish. There is no real like extreme give here, but I love it. I really do. It's really easily pigmented, easily blendable. You know, this is extremely affordable because it is e.l.f. And yeah, another formula that I would recommend if you want to get into cream blushes. Let's see if I can squeeze in all of the F's, and then I will go ahead and clean off my arm. Fenty Beauty Cream Blush in the shade Daiquiri Dip. Honestly, this used to be a blush that I got a lot of use out of, hence why it looks so dingy and disgusting. But honestly, I don't think about this blush very often. It's nothing wrong with the blush. I mean, it's a good formula, good pigmentation level, everything like that. I don't know. I just don't reach for it very often. I think this blush has a little bit too much sheen immediately, and it doesn't have that kind of immediate like powder dry down. Even like this e.l.f. right next to it, you can still see there's a slight kind of sheen to it, like a wetness to it, that it takes a little while for it to dry, and in my opinion it truly never dries down fully. And so I think that's why I stopped reaching for this. Otherwise, I didn't have a problem with this formula at all, but I think that's the thing that for me, it's just, oops, did not mean to do that. I think for me, that's the thing that just made me stop reaching for this once I continued to expand my knowledge of cream blushes. This is just not my preferred formula. But once again, I think this is a solid formula to start off with. And if you're somebody who knows you're going to reach for a powder on top of your cream, this is easily a good formula for that because it has enough tack that you can add your powder on top and you're not going to feel like you lose your powder really quickly because it'll stick to the cream easier. Next, I have two Finding Ferdinand blushes. I absolutely love these blushes. So this is the Summer Abroad shade in Macchiato, and this is a collaboration with, oh, what is her name? I can see her face right now. I'll put it on the screen. I can't think of her name, which is crazy. And this is the shade Spritz. So really, really great formula, great colors. I really wanted some of the shades from her last collaboration with them. They just sold out, and I think they were being released during a time where I was actually really good at keeping up with my like monetary budget for beauty, and it's just gone out the window since. So yeah, anyways, two really, really good shades. I absolutely love these shades. I really love the formula too, which is why I wanted those other Khaki Loves Makeup. I think it's Khaki Loves Makeup or Khaki Loves Review. That's the name of the creator that did this collaboration with them. I have been meaning to message the brand to ask if they can give me the codes to get her second release, because they said they were going to release those codes and I never got it in an email. So I probably will, and then I'll get some more products from them because yeah, I'm really liking that formula, and I think it would be a nice formula to have a decent range from. And they're really small and compact, so I don't feel like they take up a lot of space. K-beauty brand that I got really into at one point was Focallure, and this is in the shade DO5. Really good formula here. This I would say is more creamy, or not creamy, moussey than anything, but this is a really nice formula. Really nice formula. Once you pick it up on the brush, it pretty much has that dry down or that like kind of powder finish that I appreciate in blushes, and very unique, ununique shade, and you can build this up, which I do appreciate. So definitely one of those formulas from Yes Style that I've been meaning to get more of. I just, once again, never got around to it. Alrighty, so this is a brand that I just finished doing a full deep dive in, so I'm not going to go too in depth with these, but I will just kind of keep these in this video because these are a part of my collection currently. These are all from Half Caked, and this is in the shade Island in the Sun. American Pie, Wild Berry, and Hot 100. Let me do it that way so you guys can see all of the colors really easily. For me, this formula stays a little too tacky and a little too shiny. Mainly the shiny. The tack I can get through. I mean, it's not that end of a world for this formula in my opinion, but it's the sheen. It's just too much sheen for me compared to the color payoff when I'm applying it to my cheeks. I want more color payoff and less sheen, and I just find that my cheeks look ridiculously kind of cheruby without the color, and it's just not for me. So yeah, these are definite things that I knew after my review they were going to be decluttered. I just trying to stay true to the craft and keep them until that moment. I believe the next brand to talk about is Half Magic. I have quite the collection from them. I didn't even realize I had 4 blushes, but I do. It started off with the shade Only Drama, but this one is Magic Brownie. Then we have the one that it started off with, which is Only Drama. I think I'm gonna lay them on top of each other to keep them open. This is Don't Be a Doll. And then the last one is Sexual Frustration. So these like green compacts are what they come in. Technically, you can depot them and put them in like a Z palette or whatever. I just kind of like the singular, sorry about that. I like the singular compacts because then I can take them out and do whatever I want with each individual product. I love the formula. Once again, this is an easy cream to kind of that powder finish. They're easily buildable and pigmented. I know that this one doesn't look like it really shows up much and it's not the best, but overall I can make it work. And because I love this formula so much, I do make them work. The Magic Brownie is definitely one of my newer shades that I picked up and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful kind of nudie tone. I had these 2 in my top drawer, and I believe I also had the Finding Ferdinand in my top drawer as well. So that tells you how I feel about these formulas. I plan to do a kind of like top blush formula video soon, so hopefully that comes out right around the time of this video, so that in case you want to know which are the formulas that I would highly recommend, both cream and powder, you can just run to that video. Then we have Huda Beauty. So she usually keeps these exclusive to her website, so it kind of sucks, but I will say it is worth it in my opinion to scoop it up. This one is in Burning Cherry from the collection, and I absolutely love this blush. I don't know why I never went ahead and got where she hasn't released. She needs to release more shades in this formula. This is a cream blush. It is a great formula. It's extremely pigmented, blendable. I absolutely love it. This is a formula that I used to reach for before I reached for my Half Magic, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I really wish that she came out with more shades to expand this range. I think it would definitely be really well received, especially in this time and age where cream blush I think is very popular, especially as eyeshadow is not as popular. So I hope she does, but you know, who am I? Next is a brand that's actually no longer available. This is Item Beauty, and this is I'm Crushing. I got this off of one of those like beauty box retailers when they allowed non-members to purchase from them. So it's not really all that important, but like I said, this is I'm Crushing. This is a really good formula, really good product. Once again, that like powder to, or that cream to powder finish that I enjoy. It's easy to build up. I wouldn't say that this is like something that you can't find in a formula nowadays, but I really liked how compact this was, and I love the application method. I love that it's in this compact like this. I probably will end up declaring it this year just because, you know, why keep something that's not available, especially because I do tend to like shop my collection in certain videos, and I would prefer not to showcase a whole lot of makeup that's not like discontinued, especially if it's a shade that like I know I can have in something that's still available in a formula that I love now. I just don't think I have to keep this one, but it's a great formula. And if I wasn't a YouTuber, I might keep it, but also I have so much makeup that it's really just not that deep in my opinion. All right, let's continue on with Juvia's Place. So I have two different formulas from them, one that's in the matte range and one that's in their shimmery range. The matte range I have is Coral Rose, and the shimmery range is Barbie Rose Glow. So these, as you can see, are both in a liquid formulation with a doe foot, a lot of product, and very pigmented because it is, of course, Juvia's Place, which, if you did not know, is a Black owned brand. I have learned this year that when it comes to cheek products, I'm not a huge fan if they're in liquid formulations. So that will be taking a huge impact into what I keep and what I don't keep. I won't say that these are really bad formula because they're not. They're actually really good. As you can see, they're slowly drying down, and they do dry down completely. I think that you can easily blend this out, and a little bit goes an extremely long way, which I do appreciate. But for me, when I'm applying my makeup, I don't want to have to sit there and wait for the product to dry down and like do this and that. And, you know, different brushes allow the dry down time and to be a little bit shorter than I think necessarily you may think, especially like looking at my arm right now. But I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of liquid cheek products, and moving forward, I'm just not going to be that person that runs to review those formulas because I just know it's not a formula that I tend to love. But I will probably, depending on the brand and the formula overall, determine whether I'm going to keep it or not, as a, you know, need to know basis type situation. Who knows? Next brand to talk about is another Black owned brand, and this is LYS. I have two different formulas. The first one is their oldest formulation of cream blush, and this is in the shade Inspire. This is that kind of more traditional pan where you need a brush to apply it to your face. Recently, they came out with these stick formulations, and these are shimmery. So this first one is Unfazed. Beautiful formula here. And if memory serves me correctly, I purchased all of these. I will try to remember to tell you guys if I purchased something or if it was given to me. I think so far I've done well, and none of the stuff has been given to me, but I know something's coming up. They were gifted. And this shade is in the shade Courageous. This shimmery formulation is one of the best shimmery formulations I have ever tried. Not only is it, of course, shimmery, but it still has equal amount of pigment, so you don't feel like you have to kind of you know, get one or the other. You get both, and that's what I appreciate about this range. As far as the kind of older formula, it's good, but it's not a favorite of mine. It's never been a favorite of mine. So if I had to recommend you to try one of the formulas from LYS, I would strongly recommend this like shimmery toned formula. I think this is really the gem that they finally released that really put them on the map for a lot of people outside of their original kind of launch. And if I had to say a formula here, I would definitely get all of the shades in this shimmery stick, not this. So this actually might be getting decluttered coming forward, and I might be, you know, additionally picking up some shades in this stick. I am an ambassador, I think, still for LYS. Who knows? If you're interested, I would definitely go ahead and try that link down below. I think I still have it in my description box. So I do get a decent amount of stuff, or I have in the past gotten a decent amount of stuff from the brand in PR, but that does not sway me. As you can see, I will most likely be decluttering this formula that I spent my money on. It's just not my preferred. I definitely would recommend you guys get these sticks over the other one. So this is, I believe, the one PR from in this whole video. So let's get that out the way. This is from the brand Me to You NYC, and I have this in the shade Spring Dust. And like I said, they sent this to me for, I think, just a review, I think. I actually don't remember anymore because it's been a while since I had this product sent to me. This, I would say, is a decent formula. I actually really like the formula. It's the pigmentation level that I think overall is not the best for my skin tone. That said, this feels drier and a little bit less emollient, if that makes sense, which in some cases is really good because as you can see, there's a decent amount of pigment still on my arm. When I was testing this out, I felt like I had more sheen than pigment. So I might actually try this out again on my skin prior to my declutter because this may be something that, you know, with a little bit of drying out in my collection, I prefer it more. But in that review, I didn't hate it, but I did not love it for my skin tone. Now we're into some more M's, and let's start off with this MAC Glow Play. I have this in the shade Heat Index, and from what I can see online, this is like one of the quote unquote darkest shades, and to me it's not really a dark shade, so that's why I don't have any other shades in this formula. But once again, this gives me exactly what I want, right? It's that compact that I prefer, or the application method I prefer. It's that cream to powder finish, and it's pigmented, it's blendable, it's all of that, but it's just not the darkest range, at least not online. I don't really go to many MAC stores, so I haven't really dove into the range, but I do tend to reach for this range when I go to Ulta, and I haven't seen another shade that I really felt I had to have brought into my collection. I'm just gonna put By Mario in the M's because that's kind of how I consider him mentally. I consider him in the M's because I consider it the full name, Makeup by Mario. So I apologize if this is kind of out of order for you. But anyways, I have two different formulas again. This soft coral is in the like stick formula. And this is a true kind of cream to powder. This has a little bit more sheen than I consider the bronzer to have. And for that reason, it's not my favorite stick cream, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. If I had to choose a formula from his range, I would choose this one, which again is in my normal kind of preferred application method. And this is in the shade Rose Crush. This is very much a neutral shade on me, but once it's blended out and applied in the normal kind of method to my cheeks, I really love this blush. I know he recently came out with some really bright blushes, but honestly, I just didn't want them. I really like this one. So yeah, this might be going because it's not a shade that or a formula that I will reach for over this one. And I feel like why keep duplicate kind of formulas from brands if I'm not going to want to use both formulas from said brand. Keeping it going, Natasha Denona. I don't have much from her in the regard of cheek products, and like I've kind of hinted before, I don't think I'll have much from her in eyeshadow formulas after this year's declutter. But anyways, this is the Bloom face palette, and a lot of people were raving about it for so long that I finally got it when it was on like a really big discount. You know, I think this is a fine cheek palette. I've thought it was always a fine cheek palette, but I've never thought that this was something that like I had to rave about, which is why I never did. I think that this is the only shade that I would ever rave about, and it's not like that's an only shade that I can get into this palette. So this might have been its last year in my collection, if we're being honest. It's just not unique enough, not a preferred formula. It's bulky, it's big. I don't have a very big section for my cream blushes right now, and so for me, it's just, it might get the boot. It might get the boot. Alrighty, One Size. I have one of his kind of cheek products, and I put this in the cream range because I prefer the cream formula in this trio, and this is in Fire Starter as the shade. So like I said, the cream is my preferred formula here. The other two are fine, but I won't reach for this for that. Like if you see how pigmented that was on swatch, that's what I like. I really do. And the finish is perfect. You know, it's that, once again, cream to powder. That's the formula that I like. I think if he were to ever come out with singular cream blushes, I would declutter this and only have those. But until then, I probably will go ahead and keep this because I don't have much from the One Size brand, but what I do have, I actually really do enjoy. So yeah, there is that. Alrighty, we're at the final 6 brands, so stay with me and then we will be able to wrap this video up. Patrick Ta, I have 3 different cheek duos from him. I believe I decluttered the one that did not work for me. So this is She's Wanted. Ooh, I forgot about that shade. This is She's a Doll. And this is She's Baked. Yeah, so I decluttered the one shade that did not work for me. And these are all shades that are spectacular on my skin tone. I would have used this in that burgundy video had I known that I had that, because that is a really pretty duo. Look how beautiful that is. And then I wouldn't have felt the need. I'm pretty sure I bought whatever. Anyways, these are all blush duos that I really enjoy from him. They may not look like much in swatches, but applied on the face, they are actually beautiful. These are the right depth that I find I don't have to build them up too much. So for that reason, even though there is a slight sheen on the finish of these creams, it works out. And if you did not know, his kind of directions on how to use this formula is to put the powder down first and then to put the cream on top. So I do like it that way, but I do tend to just go for my normal, which is cream and then powder. So yeah, there is that really good formula here though, in case you are interested. But once again, you really have to make sure you have the right depth level for your skin type, or it's just not going to work because of how shiny that finish is. Persona. So this was a new shade that they came out with recently and everybody was raving about it because they said it was so dark and deep and blah 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 blah. So this is in the shade Guava, and it's too light. It's too light. It does not work. I know this may look similar to some of the shades that I said do work on my skin tone, but once again, if you see how thin that formula is, when you build it up, there's just too much sheen in my opinion. It doesn't build up really consistently. It's just not preferred for me. I think this is going to be one of those brands I just don't get to really appreciate because it's not made for my skin tone, and that's fine. So that is an easy one that I knew I was going to declutter. Another one that's pretty much on the fence, mainly because of the formulation, is this Rare Beauty Cream Blush in Love. I love the color, and that's why it stayed in my collection for so long. Every year I say I'm not going to keep it because I really don't reach for it, but when I do, did you see how quickly that blended out into that powder finish? Oh, it's so pretty. And the actual tone is like this, like kind of bricky orange type situation. It's just so beautiful, and so that's why it keeps staying in my collection, if we're being honest. I kind of wish that they had minis of all of their shades, and then I would declutter this and just have the mini. But whatever, it is what it is. I might keep this, who knows, again, because it's just such a pretty color, but I really don't reach for it, mainly because of the formulation or the application method. This is a shade and a brand that I'm just kind of over at this point. So this is Sai, and this is in the shade Peach Glow. This doesn't work at all. It actually feels like it dried out, which I don't know how to feel about that because I just bought this year. It is a very thin formula. As you can see, there's also chunks running through. It's not dark enough to actually fit on my skin tone. I mean, I guess I could use it as a highlighter, but I don't like this type of application for a highlighter. It's just not it. It's not it. I already knew it was going to be a declutter, but I try to keep as many things in my collection throughout the year and just declutter everything in one fall swoop. That way you guys can see everything that I get rid of. Skin Glass is a black owned brand that I showcased during February, and this is in the shade Flush. This is actually a really, really pretty formula. It is a quite dry formula, very similar to like Finding Ferdinand Very Cream blush formula, but once you get it picked up, it has again that powder finish that I love, great pigmentation, really good blendability, and yeah, I've meant to get more, I just never did, but this is definitely a brand that I would love to try more from. And I hate that I picked up the bronzer in the wrong tone. For me, I do definitely want to see if I can potentially get a darker shade, maybe upcoming in the next year. The last formula that I want to talk about is actually from Victoria Beckham, and this is in the shade Fever. And honestly, I don't know what I expected. I didn't expect this to actually work for me. This is such a beautiful formula. It's such a beautiful formula, such a beautiful shade. The pigment level here works. This is like an actual true tomato orangey red situation here, but it works beautifully. I can swipe it onto my skin and then blend it out with my brush, and it works beautifully. I really like this formula. I had intended once again to get more, but these are not cheap products at all. Nothing from her range is actually cheap, and so I just haven't pulled the trigger, but absolutely highly recommend that formula. So those are all of my blushes. It's a lot of product, and another reason why I'm like, at this point I can be so much more critical on what I'm going to keep and what I'm not going to keep, because so many beautiful formulas have come out and I now know my preferences so much better. I definitely prefer application methods like this where I can apply what I want to my brush and like blend it out on my cheeks, but at the same time that finish can really play a part. And if it doesn't have that dry down, like you can see this still doesn't have a dry down, but this is the Patrick Ta, but it's enough of a dry down that I'm good to go. Whereas some of the other formulas I showed you, it's just not enough of a dry down that it works, and it has enough pigment that it works. So many things to consider if you're trying to get into wearing blush, wearing cream blush, wearing powder blush, whatever. I hope that this video was very, very informative for you guys. Like I said, I intend to do a like top 10 blush video where I'll probably break it 5 and 5 for powder and cream. So stay tuned. And with that said, I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.